and they go back with their burdens. Please, we have different thresholds in terms of handling stress. Psychologists say it's because of, there are also elements of personality types. But another person's struggle is not necessarily the way you see it. Allow them to express themselves. Help them. Do not tell them you are weak. You are weak. Hii ni rahisi kwangu. Ningefanya hivi namna hii. I mean, just listen to them. Get to where they are and help them walk out with them. Allow the peace of Christ. The other thing is, for us, some of the facts that we must have right is that, you've got to think simple. In whatever you're faced with, whatever struggle you have, whatever challenge, you have, anything you're dealing with, please think simple. I think most of our complications or the things that we deal with or the stresses that we face, sometimes it's just about, complicating things. You're thinking too hard. You're thinking too far. Think simple. Whatever God has put for you, for your survival, is right there next to you. It begins from there. It doesn't begin there. It begins from where you are. The bathroom is just right there. So you need to think simple. Just think simple. It could be as simple as just change of your character. Like, okay, if you have a problem with listening, you begin to say, let me listen more. Maybe I'm not understanding something. Let me listen more. It could be an issue of your esteem. Yeah, you like being people clapping for you too much, and you say, no, I don't have to wait for this. That those feelings of entitlement. It could be as simple as that, and you begin to see things in a more clear way. Think simple. Come back, and simple, and be simple. Another thing is also to, accepting, as I said, some of those things that you need to deal with. Accepting the past. You don't have to prove a point. Sometimes we go through unfair situations. Yeah, really unfair indeed. Somebody does something to you which is unfair and hurting, and you feel, I will prove a point. I will show them. Then you go out there, your entire life, 10 years, 20 years, you're trying to prove a point. No, that doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. You cannot be living for others. Live for yourself. Live for yourself. Fulfill the call that God has given you. You don't have to prove a point. What point? What point? Because as you focus, don't focus on proving the point. Focus on fulfilling your purpose, the call that God has given you. In that process, by the way, without knowing, you will be proving a point. So you don't have to focus there and hold on to the past and holding grudges and bitterness and wanting somebody to come and kneel before you. Oh, sorry, I did this to you. So now that's when you think you're proving a point. No, it doesn't make sense. And especially if you are a Christian and you confess that Christ is the Lord of your life, that idea of proving a point, no. It shouldn't be anything that drives you, really. I want to read this verse here, Proverbs 3:5-6, which says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. In your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. So even as I was talking about simplifying things, trusting God is one way of simplifying things. And I like to say every now and then that God speaks. Even for this program to begin and to get to this place, I had to be guided by the Spirit of God many times. Many times. And in a very simple way. Yeah? Some things I was thinking so far. It is just here. He simplifies. He makes it simple. He makes it simple. May God give you the gift and the blessing of ease in whatever you do. His Spirit makes things so simple, so easy. And for me, when I'm struggling with something too much, I think, God, I think you're not here. I'm just pursuing my own ego issues and yeah. So I get back to the place of humility and ask him, Lord, how do I go about this? It's looked like that's my own way. I'm, hitting a rock. And he gives you very simple solutions that marvels every other time. Another thing is that for us to, the facts that we must observe is that you must observe God's commandments in public and especially in the secret. I wish there was another way about it. When we talk about God's commandments, people are like, that is too much for us. I mean, that's the only way. I wish there was another way. But yes, you may be struggling with some issues in some areas. However, when you make your mind up and say, I want to obey God, he will help you. Because his righteousness is our righteousness. When his Spirit begins to dwell in you, you will not be wondering how will that happen. It just happens. It becomes very easy for you to obey his commandments. There are some things you just can't do. The Spirit of God in you cannot allow, and you cannot have peace with it. So it becomes very easy for you to then obey his commandments. Therefore, you must have his Spirit within you. And when you do that and allow that into your heart, you are able to observe his commandments. So do not try on your own out there. You're trying to be so holy. It doesn't work like that. We tap into his righteousness. We tap into his Spirit so that we are transformed in that manner and in a way that we are godly. Another one is that some of the things that we need to have in place for us to enjoy the peace of Christ is help others in distress. Extend the love. Do not tell someone that your problem is too small. Have you encountered situations where you go to somebody, you want to share a distress issue, something that's really stressed you, and he tells you, wewe kaa chini, hiyo yako ni ndogo, you sit down, nikikwambia yangu weacha tu, so you shut the person off. And they go back with their burdens. Please, we have different thresholds in terms of handling stress. Psychologists say it's because of, there are also elements of personality types. But another person's struggle is not necessarily the way you see it. Allow them to express themselves. Help them. Do not tell them you are weak. You are weak. Hii ni rahisi kwangu. Ningefanya hivi namna hii. I mean, just listen to them. Get to where they are and help them walk out. Walk out with them. Allow the peace of Christ. So as you help others handle distress, even you will be dealing with yours indirectly in that manner. Another thing is that we must have a prayerful life. I like to talk about this part many times. Philippians 4 verse 6 and 7. It says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication. I like to underline that word, prayer. By prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I see there the element of prayer, the peace that surpasses human understanding, and not being anxious about anything, but being thankful and submitting your requests unto God. So we've got to be prayerful. We've got to be prayerful. If you want to enjoy this kind of peace, you've got to talk to your God. And when you go before your God, always, I like to tell your God anything that you feel, anything. Do not try to be modest or kukua na nini. I mean, just tell him anything. That's the beauty about my God, our God. You can tell him anything you fear, anything that gives you worry or stress, anything. I mean, anything. That's what he tells us even right there in Philippians 4, verse 6. I also like us to look at 2 Chronicles 15, 12, 15, 12, and 15. And it says, they entered into a covenant. They entered, Israel in that case, to seek the Lord with all their hearts and soul. And so they sought God eagerly, that's what 15 says, and he was found. He was found by them, so the Lord gave them rest on every side. Wonderful. So you've got to seek him eagerly, intentionally, and he will give you rest in every side. My prayer for you today is that you receive this kind of rest. As you make that decision that your peace will come from Jesus, as you decide that the peace of Christ is your portion, and you begin to seek the Lord Jesus, may he give you rest in every side. I speak out of experience. I mean, I have testimonies to this effect. I do not just come to share things based on what I've just read. I mean, I also have my own experiences. I remember there's a time I experienced heart palpitations some times back. And I had these palpitations, my heart would just move too fast, beat too fast, Yani napiga sana, haraka. And somehow we couldn't tell what the problem was. We visited so many doctors there, and then we decided, finally, I was referred to a cardiologist, because now my heart rate is always just running up and down. And so when I got there, I said, okay, God, now here we are. Let your will be done. So I got to the cardiologist, and he has this thing, that is a treadmill where you run. And being a Kalenjin, he told me, now run. Yeah, get there and run as fast as you can. I did it, as fast as I could. And after some time, he told me, now stop. So we, take a seat so that we can discuss what he had seen, with his machines. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, so now what is he going to say? My goodness. And he said something that really, oh my goodness. He told me, you know what? It doesn't look like your heart has a problem. I think you are stressed. My goodness. I thought, wait, me? Stressed? Where? By what? When? And that's how these things of stress, and especially if you've gone to high levels of stress, you get to a place where you can't even feel you're stressed. You can't even know you're stressed. If you still know that you are stressed, please know that you're still within the normal levels. Because the levels I'm talking about are those levels that are now beyond. And I had to really then look back, trace so many years back, look for it, and you realize there's something you've been carrying for too long. For too long. Because it doesn't just happen suddenly. You cannot just have one experience of stress and it causes you, that kind of, those level of effects on your body. It has got to be something that really, has taken too long. Now, tracing back, I found the problem. And, oh my goodness, it was like a miracle. I still laugh at it, or at myself, or what, I don't know, but thank God for that revelation through that cardiologist. So I'm really speaking also from a point of knowing, from my personal experience. When we talk about stress causing other things and shaking your body and stress being an illness and the need for you to have the peace of Christ, I really mean it. And I know the peace of Christ works. May he give you rest today. and may you enjoy the peace of Christ that is complete, that surpasses human understanding, and the peace that is unconditional. Shalom. Thank you.